My name is Kristopher Berry with the digital media class here at UniTec, and I am with Dr. Brandon Gregory, the next superintendent for North County.
Hello, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. I do want to start this interview with one very important question. How's Henry and Luna?
My dogs are. So, how did you find out about this? That's all I want to know.
I have an anonymous source.
Okay, well, there you go. So, Henny and Luna keep us busy all the time. They are our children, and I know people laugh about that, but it's our two French bulldogs, and they're doing great. They require a lot of attention every night, and they definitely keep my nerves and my stress level down during the week. So, there you go.
Alrighty, well, let's jump into this right now. As the next superintendent for North County, what are your overall plans for the school?
I've been in this district for 19 of my 22 years in education. And we have a lot of great things going in the district. There's a lot of things that, our kids are amazing, our staff is amazing. But what we've got to start looking at is, as our world is changing, we need to adapt like programs and stuff that are offered. So for example, the programs you guys are in, some of the programs up here at UniTec, some of the classes that we're doing, we're trying to kind of adapt that and move to the current times. We're looking at ways, we're trying to improve what services are offered to students. That's really the big thing. We're all here in education, we're here for kids. And that's what our first focus should be. What we do is, what are we doing, and how does it impact the students in our district? As far as staff goes, we're looking at, you always as a superintendent have to keep your finger on the pulse of your staff and look at ways to recruit and retain good staff and bring in teachers and faculty members that are best for your kids. So those are kind of the two main places. But, the other stuff you guys don't really want to hear about, because it's all the behind the scenes, all the paperwork, all the finance, all the things that make a district run, but it doesn't make for interesting television, let's put it that way.
So what do you plan to do in your first year as superintendent? Like what policies do you plan to set in place? What changes do you plan to make? Stuff like that.
I have always been a believer. Anytime I moved into a new administrative position, I started as a family consumer science teacher, went to the middle school as an assistant, went to Parkside 3rd and 4th grade as the principal, and then came up here as an assistant sup at the central office. I like to come in and observe and kind of see what's going on. I've always been under the impression you don't come in and change things for the sake of change. You come in and you identify things that could be changed, and you set a timeline, like some things you need to really address now. Mm-hmm. Some things 3 to 4 years down the road, you've got to make plans for that. Some things, 5 years plus. So what I plan to do is come in, observe, pay attention to a lot of things, and start making some long-term planning. As far as changes for next year, we're in the process of looking at, there's a lot of things. We're looking at curriculum now for the next school year. We're looking at things related to staffing for next school year. So there's a lot of those changes that we'll make that are consistent on a yearly basis. Mm-hmm. But if I come in next year and see we have some major issues here or there, then at that time I'll make a plan to get those taken care of. So.
Mm-hmm. And so I heard that you have an improve things for everyone philosophy. Would you be willing to go further into that?
I've always felt, number one, and I've already said it once, we're in education for the students. We're here for kids. Schools are supposed to be the root of your community. So we've got to make sure our kids are being taken care of. We've got to make sure that we're connected and working with our community and providing what they need. But I also believe that in a district, as far as your faculty and staff go, I like to see everybody kind of on an even playing field. I don't want anybody to feel that their job is more or less important than someone else's. Mm-hmm. And I always had that philosophy with my kids in a building. Every kid is on equal footing. One kid shouldn't get more attention than another kid. One kid shouldn't get something another one wouldn't have. And so that's where it's always kind of came from for me. Growing up in a small community that I did, my graduating class was 20 kids. So you knew automatically who got what, and who was connected where, and whose parents were what. So I've always kind of grown up with the idea of the equal treatment of all, whether it's your kids, your faculty, your staff. You try to get everyone as equal as you can. You treat everybody with the same respect. And that's really kind of where it comes from for me, is the respect side of it. You want everybody to kind of have that respect and that feel. So, okay?
So you said that you spent 22 years in education.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel that has shaped your viewpoint as future superintendent?
I've been a middle school, high school, family consumer science teacher. For some of your parents, it may be home economics. I don't know if that's more familiar. That's what it was when I was in high school, but I'm also an old man, so that's the way it is. I worked as an assistant principal at the middle school. I worked as a building principal for third and fourth grade, and most of these were 5 years plus. Parkside, I was there for 9 years. What I like is I've had a breadth of experience. So I've worked from everywhere from grades 3 up through grades 12. Being a family consumer science teacher, I was engaged in the vocational side of things like UniTec. I haven't spent any time at the primary building, and I will tell you that pre-K through 2 is a different group of kids than what third and fourth grade are. But I've had this experience, these wealth of experiences that allow me to kind of look, no matter what the situation is, and identify, this is what I know, this is what I think I can impact, bring change to. But I also have enough sense to know I don't know everything. Mm-hmm. And that's what my experience has really taught me is, I don't know everything, you don't. No one in this room is expected to know everything. And we need to remember that, and we don't need to beat up on ourselves if we don't. We need to find those people that do, that are experts in those areas, bring them in, and get their assistance, and get their viewpoints, and get their help. So really, that's the biggest thing I've learned is I don't know everything, and I never will. So I find those people that can help me get things taken care of like we need to.
All right. In an interview that you did, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You said that mental health was something that you really wanted to kind of focus on,
Yes.
and I guess help would be the right word. How do you plan to do that during your time as superintendent?
Well, we have met with a couple of groups, myself and Dr. Jess Harris, our student services, director of student services. And there are some of our local school districts, there are some mental health programs that they are offering to school districts, for kids, for staff, for individuals that need it. And so what we're trying to do are create inroads with those organizations, look at how they're going to fit into our district, and maybe start trying to bring some of those groups in to provide some assistance for students. I know that our student services counseling departments in all of our buildings are amazing. But you guys know as well as I do, from your buildings, there's 1 or 2, maybe 3, like there are at our high school. And they're not necessarily trained to deal with everything that a kid might or a student might experience throughout their life. So you've got to make those connections outside organizations, whether it be the groups that we've talked to, whether it be, I know there's been some outreach and some work between our social workers and our student services and some of the Division of Family Services trying to set up some programs to try to help families and help kids. I sit on the St. Francis County Community Partnership Board, and there are representatives there from Missouri Health Department, from BJC, from a lot of different organizations that focus on mental health. So they're all constantly bringing information to me going, this is a program that we have. You guys might be interested in this at a school. So really what I'm trying to do now is build connections with these organizations and see what's going to fit the needs of our students, of our communities.
And I know that you plan on helping teachers with insurance and stuff like that. Would services like that extend to teachers as well?
I think that's something I would have to get some details on, because right now most of these programs that we have connected with are specific to students and to families. We haven't really talked about the staff side of things, so I've got to get more information before I could say yeah or no. Mm-hmm. I don't want to come out and say yes and then, all right, we're getting this, and then it turns out it's incorrect.
Yeah.
But, we don't want to delve into the whole side of it, but, through insurance benefits, there are things that we have access to as adults. What we're trying to do is provide what you look at a lot of times is students may not have access. And so that's kind of what you're wanting to look at is provide those opportunities if there are kids that are in need of that assistance, that they're going to have those opportunities available to them. So.
And would you mind going further into how you plan helping teachers with like insurance and stuff like that?
There are, so the way our insurance works, it's a consortium for all of the school districts in the MAAA. So basically what they do is they go out and this is the kind of behind the scenes stuff that you guys probably aren't really interested in, but what they do is our consortium of MAAA schools, we go out and we collect bids and information, okay? And then we get the pricing in, and at that point is when the MAAA superintendents, they kind of agree to, this is the group we're gonna go with. So really, it's kind of a large consortium, and we've been in the process of that for the past couple of months, so.
All right, I have some personal questions that I'd like to ask you just to let the people get to know you better.
Okay.
So I hear that you are a big Star Trek and Star Wars fan.
Yes.
What's your favorite Star Trek or Star Wars movie or series?
I'll go with a little bit of both. So my favorite movie from Star Wars, and it's going to be played out because everybody says it, is probably Empire Strikes Back. I've always been a fan of the Empire. And that doesn't have anything to do with, and people will always joke when you go into school administration, you're joining the dark side. That's always the joke. But I've always been a fan of Empire Strikes Back. I like it because it kind of builds to that crescendo, but then it's like almost like the bad guys win. And that was kind of unexpected during that time of cinema. As far as Star Trek goes, I grew up with, when I was y'all's age, a long time ago, Star Trek The Next Generation was just coming out in syndication. So every night before bed, I would sit there and watch Star Trek. So The Next Generation is probably my favorite thing now. There will be some people that hate on that because they're original Star Wars or Star Trek fans. And you're supposed to be one or the other. I like both, so that's just how I am.
Yeah.
So.
The same anonymous source who told me the name of your dogs
Okay.
also mentions that you have, quote, the worst decorated office in, I think it was, you just have the worst decorated office.
I think I know who your anonymous source is now. So.
All right. I hear that you play guitar and bass.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing?
Well, I picked up, I was always a band kid and started in 6th grade and played all the way through college. Picked up bass guitar in my freshman year of college. So that's 1994, which I don't know how many of you guys were probably even born at that time. So, but I picked up bass in 94 and I've been playing ever since. So. And
what's your favorite song to play?
See, these are the questions that always get me. It's like you ask me my favorite song to play. It depends on really the mood. I enjoy all styles of music. It depends on who I'm playing with. It depends on the group I'm in at the time. I've had a lot of things I've enjoyed. I mean, you've got what I deem classics like I'm a big Black Sabbath fan, so War Pigs or Paranoid or anything by Black Sabbath is always fun to play. Geezer Butler's one of my favorite bass players. Your source would get mad if I didn't say I enjoy playing Kiss music, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. Actually, I will say Gene Simmons has got some cool stuff to play, really kind of groovy, kind of blues-based stuff. But honestly, there's not one particular thing. I just, at my age now, the fact I get to play with people is the most enjoyable part of it. So.
And so. You said you like Black Sabbath, Kiss, stuff like that. What is your favorite genre or stuff like that?
I would have to go with probably metal, but it's a very broad genre. I like some hard rock stuff. It's what a lot of the stuff I grew up on, but I'm more of I really got into kind of like Sabbath was the beginnings, but then I got into a lot of stuff, like Clutch and Fu Manchu and some of those bands, which a lot of you guys probably may have never heard of. A lot of the metal stuff I've been getting into lately. I've been trying to branch out. I got stale for a couple of years, so now I'm trying to get out and listen to a lot of things like I'm trying to think of, I don't know, most of the band names we probably can't talk about in an interview, if we'll be honest with you. And those of you guys that listen to metal, you probably realize that. So, but I've always been a big Metallica fan. Matter of fact, I just saw them in concert a couple of months ago. So, there's a lot of good things there and a lot of things I enjoy. So, but I'm a metal guy, always have been. So,
all right. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Dr. Gregory?
Anybody have anything they want to ask? I want to know, with the graduating class of only 20, what school was that?
Advance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Not too far away.
Yeah.
Yep. Where'd you go to school after Advance?
Well, the fact I pick on you about KU shows that I went to Mizzou for a couple of years. I was an economics major there for a couple of years before I got into education, and ended up coming back to SEMO and finishing out as a family consumer science major. And then after that, I went to William Woods for my master's and specialist, and I went to MOBAP for my doctorate. So I've kind of been everywhere. But yeah, I got enough Mizzou blood in me where there's, not as much tension as you and my secret source probably, but I was a member of the Antlers when I was at Mizzou for a couple of years. So we won't talk about that, but so that's where I started everything. But went from a class of 20 to walking to a classroom full of 900 people was a little bit of culture shock for me. So,
Anybody else?
You said that you did band from 6th grade to college. What instrument did you play?
well, I started as a trombone player in 6th grade, and due to family financial situation, I switched to tuba because you didn't have to pay for the trombone. So, and that was it. Moses, my band director is Bob Moses, looked at me and goes, I don't want you to quit band, because I was going to quit. He goes, I don't want you to quit. He goes, let's switch you to tuba. We have one here. School owns it. You can play that. So I started playing tuba, 6th grade, 2nd semester. Played that, picked trombone back up throughout high school, picked up baritone. When I went to college, played marching Mizzou. I played tuba, but picked up, played a little bit of trombone, a little bit of baritone during that time, but I've always been a low brass person, so. And that's hence why I started playing bass guitar, would be my guess. That's what I was most comfortable with, so.
Thank you so much for coming here and doing this interview with us. It was so nice having you. This has been UniTec Digital Media. We're here with Dr. Brandon Gregory. I've been Chris Berry.
Thank you very much.